is one of the strangest tales ever told. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you.
Welcome to the Dark Fantastic!
I'm not a monster, Jake.
I'll show you who I am and what I am.
Yeah, you'll love this one. It's a scream, baby.
It's showtime.
I am your mother.
Time to float.
I feel like she's not a mistake at all. Like she's better for being different.
Gender fluid.
No matter what, you keep finding something to fight for.
Hey, Michael!
What's your favorite scary movie?
You want stars? I'll give you stars.
So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now is your chance to, well, we've warned you.
Hello and welcome to episode number 56 of Theme Park Workshop. My name is Kelly and I am joined today by Adam Johnson.
Let me inside your fragile mind. Hi, I'm Adam.
And Bella Harvey.
Hey. I couldn't think of anything fun.
And you know what? That was still fun. It was great. My last name is Hoffman, by the way, because I did not say that. This episode is brought to you, of course, by our patrons, Landon Kanoki, Jonathan Edward, Jordan Buster, Greg Harvey, Joshua Gonzalez and Rachel Sprague, and Dwayne and Teresa Diker. If you want to join our Patreon, you can join us at patreon.com/themeparkworkshop to support the show, get some bonus episodes, updates, and more. But today is going to be part one of us talking about HHN 33. So we're gonna talk in this episode. We're gonna talk about the vibes. We're gonna talk about the event overall. We're gonna get into some zone rankings as well, some scare zones. Talk about some food, nightmare fuel, tribute store, and then next episode is gonna be the big one, the houses. So if it's not a house, we're probably gonna talk about it in this episode. But let's start by discussing what we thought, just general vibe-wise. Bella, what did you think of the vibes this year?
They were there. There were vibes. And they were there. Okay, I did love the event this year. I really did. But like, I don't know if it was like guest vibes being way off or the budget cuts to the musical of it all. But I don't know. Like, there were some nights where the vibes were like really, really good, like unreal, like off the charts. But then there were nights and it was like, hello? And I think guests kind of did the most of that. But overall, I thought the vibe, like taking out the guests and like, you know, everything, I thought the vibes were pretty good. Vibes were a 7 out of 10 for me, if that made any sense.
I think that's fair. Adam, what did you think?
Yeah, that's a good score. I don't know if I can give it a score. When I take these universal surveys, they ask me, how did this compare to last year for your previous years? And I think overall, I would say about the same. There's just like different strengths and weaknesses. And I think the vibes of last year were better. It might just be down to the music loop, honestly, because the music loop felt so borrowed from last year. Like there's a lot of repeats. And so it didn't help give this event its own atmospheric identity. As much as like the Oddfellow loop with the different Oddfellow zones having their own identity, like that whole park had an identity in it. Definitely in the Pumpkin Lord year, there's a big identity there. Another Way Out, anybody? So not having some of that, I think probably hurt some of the just like the overall vibes. You know, if I had to rank them, I don't think this would come close to last year, but I'm not doing that because that's hard.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I had a lot of fun this year. It's interesting. The vibes have changed a lot throughout the years, and it's I don't know. It's hard to say exactly how. I feel like it's as the event gets bigger and crazier as well, that kind of affects the vibes. Like my favorite nights were nights where I could like walk through the most popular scare zones and not be bumping elbows with every single person. So that has something to do with it. I know I said we weren't really talking about houses, but if we're talking about the vibes of the whole event, overall, the houses were amazing, all of them. And I don't know the last time I said every single house I loved. So that definitely helped. I loved all the lighting effects, like that which is perfectly portrayed behind Adam, of sinister and surreal, and there was a lot of subtleties of that throughout the park, but I almost wish it was more, and I hate to say that because they gave us a lot, but it's not the same as like Oddfellow last year, which again, we're gonna compare. Universal's even asking us to compare, so we're gonna compare. But yeah, I liked it a lot overall. I honestly think about a 7 out of 10 is pretty solid, because there were things that were great, there were things that were not as great, or at least compared to other years, not as great. And we'll get into the specifics with that, and I can share a little more of my thoughts. But y'all got thoughts on the icons?
I do. I really enjoyed Sinister and Surreal. With it's interesting because I think since we've started like the Never Go Alone trilogy that we kind of had, we're kind of moving into more of like the Eldritch, the horrors. I mean, Dr. Oddfellow is coming from the Zodiac dimension, not the Lantern. The Lantern has a lot of these contemporary horrors like a clown, a caretaker, a movie director, and an usher with a bad attitude. Even Lady Luck was just like a succubus. But we've got like the embodiment of Halloween. We've got someone who harnesses like the power of Halloween, and now with Sinister and Surreal, they're very much the surrealism of horror and the sinister, violent aspects of horror. And I don't think we've had concepts as icons, but I love their interaction in the zones. I love their monologues. I love them in the front zone, Duality of Fear, and just kind of what they represent. I think for as big as that concept was, as we're talking about like the vibes, I don't think the event really 100% succeeded in encapsulating like all of their potential and stuff. And I've seen a lot of complaints online, which I think are warranted, which is they felt underdeveloped, but that's by no fault of the performers who did a tremendous job bringing these characters to life and make them. I was quoting them all the time during the event. Like you have Sinister, who's like evil Nimona / Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy, and then Surreal is kind of their own thing as well. And seeing them in their zones was always a great privilege and a fun time. And even how like the houses did connect to them in theme and the zones did connect with them in theme. It felt less cohesive somehow than Oddfellow, where like none of the houses except for like Darkest Steel and his signature house had anything to do with what his stuff was. But just as characters, I don't know where I would rank them with everyone else. I haven't done that work yet, but I did really enjoy them and I want to see more of them. I think that's ultimately at the end of the day. Give them a house, give them a zone, give them a feature as we explore this void under Universal Studios in the lore, which is what, Otis explodes and out comes Sinister and Surreal crawling out. Give us more of that because I really love these characters.
I totally agree. I like you, like I don't really know where like I would rank them amongst like our icons. And I also kind of wish we got more like lore about them. Cause like, yeah, Sinister, physical pain. And Surreal with like your mind and psychological horror, like, but like why? You know what I mean? Like, where did they come from? Why are they under Universal? What do they have to do with anything else? But they were really cool. I loved their show moments in the zone. I didn't really spend too much time in whatever the front thing was. And they were just really cool. I got to talk to Sinister one day in Torture Fair. I was talking to the king and queen because I wanted to volunteer, and then I looked to my side and Sinister's right there talking to me. I'm like, so I think I liked Sinister more than Surreal. Sinister was just so fun, and Physical Pain was like my favorite thing. I said it all the time during the event. Yeah. I wish we understood them more and like knew more about them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I completely agree because I absolutely loved both of them. And please don't make me choose because I pledged myself to each of them every single night. But I don't know. I definitely, first of all, I feel like every person who played one of those characters did a fantastic job. And especially like, it started kind of as more generic and on script in the beginning, and you can tell that those characters really became a part of them as the event went on, which I think is really cool to see. Um, I think they did a great job in the zones. That was probably my favorite part. I feel like the zones, especially Demon Queens, feel empty without them. Like if they're not in there, because they were there from like 9 to 11 or something like that. I like it didn't feel right. Like they just brought such an energy to that. Especially Surreal. Surreal did a fantastic job with bringing everything together, and I'll talk more about them in the zones when we get to the zones, but they just did an amazing job. But I wish exactly that we knew more about them. Honestly, I want to see a house or two houses. I would love to see each of them get their own house. I don't know if that's possible, but at the very least, I would love to see a surreal house. I think if they're going to do one, they're going to do both, whether they put them both in one or they do two separate ones and maybe in separate years. I don't know. But I would like to see them come back, and I hope that they do because they were a lot of fun. And um, I don't know. I like the duality aspect where they're, splitting horror into two. Like rest in peace, Sinister. You would have loved Terrifier. But it's just really cool to see.
Mike Aiello, Laura Sauls, if you're listening, Sinister Surreal Houses 34. We're ready.
I'm ready.
They could technically put them in the where Chucky was last year and split it back up again into two. One half sinister, one half surreal.
Ooh, now that's an idea.
I mean,
Somebody
Black
fill out
Phone
some
was pretty
surveys.
surreal coded. And Freaky was very sinister coded. Oh my gosh. Foreshadowing in 2022.
Oh, that would be so much fun. I think that's a great idea.
Bella,
My
I think you
brain.
struck gold.
My brain is so big and powerful.
So we've talked about how impressed we were with the icons. Were we impressed by the food offerings this year? What were y'all's thoughts?
I only had a couple things. I had like the usual pizza fries. I usually only get that once or twice. And then I had a couple twisted taters. I had the Goblin's Feast apple pie thing. So good. It was like a hand pie, and there was cinnamon and sugar on it, and there was like drizzled like a raspberry thing. It was very good. And then I was skeptical about the walking taco this year because they didn't use Fritos and it was Doritos. But oh my god, I wish I got more. I only had two. I wish I had more. They were so good. It was
The vegan one had
so
Fritos.
good. Oh, well, I didn't get the vegan one. It was so good. It was so delicious. I miss it already. I unfortunately did not have the s'more. But that was way too much sugar for me. I would have been ill. So I decided against that. But I liked what I had. And I feel like I wasn't like missing anything, really. Oh, the pizza skulls this year were like exceptionally good for some reason. I had quite a handful of those. They were like really good this year, and I don't know why. I'm so sorry, Adam. But yeah, that's all I have this year.
I will say I had like one bite of two different s'mores from that other people purchased and said, "Do you want a bite?" And I was like, "Thank goodness you said that, because yes, but I would be dead if I ate the whole thing." I don't have a lot of thoughts on food, so I'll just throw them in real quick. But the s'more was really, really good, but extremely messy, and it was a lot. It was good to split with someone. Drinks were pretty good this year. I like that there were so many mocktails. Black Cat Reprieve, very good. I can't remember if I had very many other ones. There was one I had, like, it was not called Blood Moon, but it was something like that at the Dead Coconut Club. Yes, they had a vampire mocktail that was delicious. Adam, I know you had the other mocktail from upstairs. You'll have to talk about that because I didn't get to try that one. But what else? I had several walking tacos. Anytime the line was not long, I got a walking taco. And I don't think they hit as well as last year. I think last year there was like vegan chorizo or something for the vegan one, and it was really, really good. And it had the Fritos and stuff. So they did have Fritos this year, but it was like a chili. It was good, but it was not as good as last year. So I still got it, but there was a little part of me that was a little sad and missing watching young Oddfellow run around while I ate my walking taco. What else? I had pizza fries. I didn't have a ton to eat this year because I wasn't super into the menus in general. I thought they were okay, but that was pretty much all of it. Adam, what did you have that you liked or didn't like?
For the most part, I felt the way you did, where everything's like, yeah, I mean, it's fine. In the past, I've kind of gone crazy for other items. Like nothing has ever topped my fried zombie brains from 2022 from HHN 31 over in Sting Alley. I think there's another the ravioli I really loved last year. I don't think anything really hit that same way this year because the fish and chips, they were fish and chips. Yeah, good. They're good fish and chips, but they're not like, anything to write home about. I do think my favorite thing was the Insidious eggs in the further. That was good. I only got it once, but I think it was probably the best thing I had. I didn't try anything at the Quiet Place booth. It didn't really speak to me. And when it did speak to me, the event was going to end entirely in 2 hours. I wanted to do houses. So, oops. I hear it was great, though. Everyone's praising the baked beans. I usually, after I got worn out of pizza fries, I was hitting up the Slaughter Cinema booth for the walking tacos, and whichever one was my favorite, depending on how I felt that day. And the rocks from hell, the like the cheese balls. I don't think they were pretzels, but they were stuffed balls of cheese, and it hit the spot all the time. What can I say? My cholesterol and sodium, but my satisfaction also went up. So how about that? Love me some rocks from hell.
I also forgot about the evil tachos. I wish they would keep them forever because they're so good, but it was like a pimento cheese like tacho bowl at the Minion Cafe. Incredible. Adam, how was that mocktail that you got from Dead Coconut upstairs?
Yeah, completely forgot about that. And when I started talking, but it was probably my favorite thing. It was the Death by La Dola, which is a freaky inspired spicy mocktail with, I think it was pineapple and jalapeno. I can't remember the fruit base. Either way, it was delicious. It was spicy. It hit the spot. I dug it quite a bit. If I hit up Dead Coconut more, I probably would have gotten it more. And I love Dead Coconut this year. With the vampires and the Blumhouse stuff was pretty. It felt disconnected, but it still worked somehow. But seeing all the dancers in there and whatnot, it's just. I want my house time. I want my zone time. But Death by La Dola, I'm so glad I got that. Great to drink while reading an ebook.
I love that. That's one of my favorite things to do in there. I did some studying for law school at one point in the Dead Coconut Club as well, so it's fun. What did everyone think about the tribute store this year? Starting with Bella.
It was a store that I went through. It was cute though. It was cute. I did like it. I liked the graffiti the most, I think. I thought that was probably like my favorite part. I loved all the little Easter eggs in there and like the icons. I didn't really spend a whole lot of time in there, to be honest. I walked there a couple times. I really loved the throwback or the callback to the Boris room last year. When walking into that's the third room, I think. I really liked that. That made my heart very, very happy. But I thought it was cute. I definitely think we've had better. I think my favorite still is the one from 2021 with that room with all the icons busts and the photos that move. Like, oh my, I will never forget that one. That one was my first tribute store I ever went through for Universal. And that one is just like top tier for me. It was so good. It was so good. That was my. Also, I love that coconut. Just want to throw that in there. It was fun.
That coconut was great. I wish I spent more time in there. Adam, what'd you think of the tribute store?
I really enjoyed it. It was not as flashy as last year's store with the comic books or even the Dark Ride store in the Sweet Revenge year. But I think what I really enjoyed was that Batilda got a feature, formerly known as, I actually forgot what we used to call her. Patricia. Sorry, I have the Batilda poster, so I'm kind of in corporate mode. I'm sorry. But Batilda, or Patricia, I love that she got a feature in the zone. And one time when I went in the daytime when there's like no one in there because everyone's thinking, is this a house or a store? Well, I can't tell, so I won't go inside, which is good for us because we know the difference. And even if it was a house, we'd still go through it in the daytime. I took some time to look at more of the Easter eggs and just take a 360 view and read some of the smaller print and stuff and look at the details. And I really love the storytelling in it. It's one of those things where I don't know if it's a better thing, a worse thing, or just a different thing where you really need to like give a lot to it and just offer yourself to the storytelling to kind of get all the deeper stuff. I think it does plenty well storytelling on its own, like setting up this dystopia and whatnot. And you're stuck in a store of all things, but how it ties into the Mummy store and everything. I thought that was cool. I love the cat graffiti. I love the peacock for NBC. I loved all the things in that hallway. I love that our girl got a feature. Did I mention the cats on the graffiti? If I didn't, love the cats. There's like 7 cats in there. My name's in the store. There's an Adam in there. It's gone now. I think that was for Skipper Haas. Well done.
Yeah, I really liked it. I think I would agree with Bella that the graffiti room is my favorite, mostly because of the cats. But also I screamed several times when I saw the roaches on the floor that were a lighting effect because I thought they were real. They were not, but it was well done. I loved the rain effect as a callback to Boris. I liked the big HHN like graffiti sign. It was giving what house was that? Where it was like metal and like it was where Insidious is, I think. Carnival Graveyard?
Yes.
Yes. It reminded me of that. I thought it was overall really good. I liked the big Batilda, I almost called her Patricia, at the end of the store. Although I wish she I wish she moved or something. I don't know. That's a lot to ask, I guess, but I wish she had some sort of movement and that she wasn't just static. Even if it was a lighting effect where maybe she's dark and then she comes into view or something. But just a thought. I know that's not like they don't have any obligation to do that. It's usually a lot of static figures, but it'd be kind of cool. But I liked the like apocalypse type vibes, post-apocalyptic. I thought it was interesting. I will say the merch this year, not my favorite, but it's okay because I didn't go bankrupt. I bought one shirt and I bought it when it was already on sale and I stacked my favorite team member's discount on it. Thank you, Bella. And if you're a team member listening, I'm sorry, I love you, but not as much as I love Bella. And I bought the house shirt with I like those crop sleeve shirts. Those are nice. I'm not wearing it right now, but it's a good one. And I think I got the Ghostbusters like I don't know what you call them, badge holders that I use for my stuff. So I think that was pretty much all I bought for merch this year, which is low for me. But again, good financially with starting law school. Did y'all get any merch? Well, Adam, you're wearing some.
Yeah, I got the Blumhouse shirt. I got the house
that
shirt
is from this year.
Yeah, I love this shirt.
I like that.
I love this shirt. The house shirt as per usual, and then I got the Lil Boo shoulder thing, and the Marshmallow Man shoulder thing. I thought they were stupid, and then I saw people wearing them, and I was like, oh. I wore the Little Boo one more though, because the Marshmallow one, it does not stay on your shirt because it's so big. I had to wear him down a little bit because he kept hitting my head. But yeah, that's all I got. I didn't really get anything too crazy. Not like last year where I bought a lot of Stranger Things items.
I think my most purchased merch year was the Icons year. But try to wear I almost called them a mushroom, your marshmallow on like a hat, like a bucket hat. If you put the magnet, it's a good way. Adam, what'd you buy?
A lot. Listen, the discount started early, and I could have bought more, but I didn't. But I could have if I thought, and I drove. But I didn't. What did I get? Well, as you saw, I've got this shirt, the Dead Coconut shirt. I also got the Mel's Drive-In or Die-In rather shirt. And the coaster. Haha. Also hit up the Chucky coasters because they were cheap, and I love me some horror coasters, so people know I have an aesthetic when they come and visit my apartment. I got 2 posters. I got the Universal Monsters poster, as we'll talk about a little bit later in this episode or next episode. Why did Adam get the poster? I guess we'll find out. Also got that tumbler because it was $5. And I got the tribute store poster as well, not the 3D one. I was misled. Was I misled, or could I just not read? The jury's still out. And then I got a little Eddie. I got an Eddie with the chainsaw, and I got a little frickin with the, I think it was a knife. It was a knife, yeah. Went a little ham because I bought an installment. I didn't say today is merch day. I said, well, that's looking a little bit good, and my thoughts are evolving on this event. And as you saw, I have that mug. I can't remember if I mentioned the mug, but you saw the mug. I wasn't hiding the mug. That mug has coffee, and it's huge. I'm having so much coffee. The coffee is going through my body so much because of that mug. But it's got the houses, which were my favorite part of this year, and I needed something to commemorate that. And what's going to last forever? A coffee mug.
Well, you talked about the houses being your favorite part of the event, and we're not talking about those yet, but
No,
we
we are
can
not.
talk about the scare zones. Who's the best at transitions? Me. Okay.
They call her
so
the Segway Queen.
they do call me that. Nobody calls me that. I will say I'm looking at my hype list, and it changed a little bit. I won't give any spoilers, but mostly I'll tell you afterward. So my number 5 is Duality of Fear. And I'm going through these, by the way, we're going to do 5 through 1 for each person. So I'm going to tell you all of them and why. Duality of Fear, as many said, was hardly a zone to me. I wanted to bump it up for reasons that possibly one of my co-hosts may have. And that is that the clocked. And that is that the icons are incredible. And when they're up there doing their thing, they're great. However, I feel like they're even better when they're in some of the zones that are in a different portion of this list. So I'm like, that's not a high enough to bring them up, especially when the majority of time where I walk through there, it's just like 4 chainsaws. And I will say, the chainsaw, those scare actors are doing work. They are terrorizing people. Bella's worst nightmare.
They were so aggressive this year. They were scaring people on the sidewalks.
Which,
they were so aggressive.
Depending on what you're looking for.
It was like crazy compared to the chainsaw zones in the past and the roaming ones. No. Mm-mm.
What I'm hearing is this is your number 1.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, but as much as the scare actors were doing work, at the end of the day, there were no sets other than the arch we get every year. The lighting, I can't remember if that was a day 1 thing or if it came a little bit later. But the lighting with the 33 symbols for each icon were great. When they did that, the half and half lighting, and they have them up there. That was cool. Love when they're yelling at you on your way out. I never saw this, but apparently some of the characters from some of the houses, which are featured at the Icon Bar. It's not called the Icon Bar.
HHN Bar.
HHN Bar, which we didn't even talk about. The HHN Bar. Maybe we'll close out with that. It was great. Spoiler alert.
Girl, what is
But
there to talk about the HHN bar? There was nothing there. There weren't even guests there. No, I
At
meant
the
the Peacock bar.
bar.
Wait.
At the meet and greet, though.
oh, Peacock Bar,
No,
not good.
listen. The entire season I've gotten Peacock bar and HHN bar mixed up. The entire season.
It wasn't even the
Because I'd
Peacock bar. It was like the
forget.
Fanta bar.
Yeah, it was the Fanta
Fanta-
bar.
Well, it will
Wanta Hunt?
forever. Wanta Honta, don't piss me off.
It wasn't even
I-
Fanta. It's so
Listen,
stupid.
Peacock bar,
Hanta.
Peacock bar will forever live in my heart, and I got them confused. My apologies. HHN bar was fun. It was cute. It was cute. It was cute. I'll let it slide.
Apparently they go out there at the end of the night, sometimes towards the end of the season. That's cool. Would have liked to see that. But what I saw was hardly a zone. There were no sets. There were like 4 scare actors, not including the icons. They were great, but it wasn't enough for me. Wasn't enough for me. Speaking of not enough for me, my number 4, Swamp of the Undead. That zone, this is similar to a house that I'll talk about in the next episode. During the day, the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen. Gorgeous sets. Beautiful sets. This might be a spoiler for the next episode for some people if you catch my drift. Beautiful sets. Lovely sets. Incredible. Then at night, what happened? You can't see anything. The zombies are they're just zombies. Why are they swamp zombies? Why are there anything different? They're just zombies. And I gotta be honest with you, regular old zombies don't really do it for me. And maybe they do for some people. I bet you a lot of people like this zone. Not really a lot of people I talk to, but or at least not my friends. The general internet, I think a lot of people. So if you're my friend and you're listening to this and you loved Swamp, I don't think you told me that, because I don't know. Most people I talk to are like, it's fine to it's bad. I would probably be more in the it's bad camp. I'm not saying it was awful. Again, generally, I'm not saying anything bad about scare actors. They were zombies. But what can you do with bad direction? You know what I mean? And whoever did the direction, do better. Because this area has been one of my favorites for like so long. The lighting has been really good. Give me back pumpkins and trees, or give me death, to be honest with you.
Adam, I need you to edit the music that you gave Kelly for when she talked about Spider-Man over it, because I've never heard her this intense over something since that
Killer
moment.
Kells is out tonight.
Like, oh my god, you're correct, and I think you're gonna enjoy my list as well, but damn.
Ooh,
I love how your 4 gets more hate than your 5.
What? There wasn't even a 5. We had 4 zones this year.
I
Let's be
know,
so
but it
for
still
real.
didn't warrant that.
That's true. Honestly, maybe I should.
We're so
swap them.
unhinged. We are so unhinged on this episode.
Not to mention that it's a slip hazard, by the way, with all the fog. We could have done lighting effects and made it look like the swamp.
They had
Y'all
them,
gotta-
and they didn't bring us back until the last weekend. They had them. They got taken out for the hurricane, and they didn't come back until the last frickin' weekend.
Well, Helene and Milton, you're on my shit list, so do better. Anyway,
Universal, we love you. We love you so much.
you.
Horror Nights Creative, we love you, and we appreciate you so much. You guys are the best. That's it.
it's true. And really, like, I'm talking shit. Like, it's not. I mean, I was about to say something. That whole part about me saying it was still. Listen, I'm talking a lot of smack, but it was a solid zone. At least this one was a zone. I'm looking at you, Duality of Fear. Duality of Fear could have done so much more. I didn't even say any of that. It could have done so much more. It was like, choose your path. You're not choosing anything. There's my smack talk about Duality of Fear, which is still my number 5. Swamp,
Choosing to cut through the sidewalk through minions and go through another zone.
Exactly. So it was a zone, but it just wasn't to the standard I expect of Horror Nights or even that area. So I thought it was a little bland, a little generic, but it was fine. I don't like the zombie moans either. They were weird. It sounded like a man snoring. I'm like, what are we doing here? Okay. Anyway, Killer Kills is not retiring yet. Number 3 is Enter the Blumhouse. um I it you know, okay. It we have the same list. I knew it.
Am I the only one with an original thought on this podcast?
Oh, I can't breathe. Okay.
Listeners, if you're not watching this, Bella's dying in silence as she realizes that her and Kelly share the exact same list, which will make for an interesting next 10 minutes.
Amazing. Okay, well, Bella, you're gonna have to be next so we can discuss. Number 3 is Enter the Blumhouse. I I can't speak.
Bella's gone. We lost Bella. HHN was
I don't think this has ever happened before.
not on Zoom.
Bye.
Oh my god. Okay.
Listeners at home, this is during election night, which might be contributing to this total loss of sanity on all sides. Wake me up.
Okay. I'm gonna talk about Enter the Blumhouse now. Let me it's not the worst zone I've seen in this area. It's not Crypt TV. But it was still a similar vibe to that where it's kind of a selfie zone, although I did see a lot of people get in trouble for trying to take selfies. Like people like I don't know if it was like ops or somebody in the zone who worked at Universal was like kind of like trying to get people through, which sucks. But this zone was kind of like a half and half for me, because I love some of the interactions I've seen, especially with Megan. The Megans killed it. They were probably the best part of that zone. They were so cute with the children, and they were so expressive without saying anything, which was so cool. So I loved the Megans. There were other characters in there too that were pretty amazing. Maybe y'all will have had better interactions. I had some good interactions with Tree from Happy Death Day, and that was cool. So from Happy Death Day, you gotta watch it. The first one's really good.
She's the final girl. She's dying over and over and over again so she can live, baby.
I think the second one's good too, but it got kind of convoluted, so I don't remember it as well. The first one, solid horror Groundhog Day, very good. You're gay.
You were gay.
Yeah, I liked it. I felt like it was a little empty. They did add some scare actors later in the season, which helped it a lot. Even though it wasn't necessarily loud, it still felt a little like a selfie zone, although they did a little better with that. It just wasn't super memorable for me. It was Blumhouse. It was fine. My number 2 is Demon Queens. And I'm not gonna say it was close for 1 and 2. It wasn't like super close, but it was closer than it's been in some years. I really liked this zone a lot. It's up there with like some of my favorite zones I've ever done. Somewhere in like the upper middle probably if I was to rank them all. But still really good.
I'm sorry to make that face while you're talking, Kelly. My upstairs neighbor just like dropped a log or something. Dropped a rock, dropped a boulder. I don't know. Something just like fell above my
Not a
head.
euphemism. Okay, no.
I realized that now. I mean, it sounded like a log. I don't know, man. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's a
Adam just
tree. He
hates the
dropped
demon.
tree.
obviously.
Oh no, not the final girl.
The final girl is Free Pain, Taylor's publicist.
Yes.
Is her name like literally Tree? Tree?
Yeah. I think it's like Teresa, maybe. I don't remember. It stands for something.
How do you get Tree from Teresa?
How do you get Dick from Richard?
You ask him. He's just gonna. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
I don't want you in pain, but we need unhinged Bella every episode.
That was so fast. Good job.
Yeah, ask him. That's great. That felt
I
like it was
need that as
waiting to be said.
I need that as a clip so bad. I need that cut and sent to me so
I'm
bad.
posting it as an Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I gotta talk about my queens. First time I went through Demon Queens, I didn't get it. I was like, it's just a bunch of black cloaks. I don't understand what's happening here. I like the sets. I'm not feeling it though. And then as the event went on, and I especially seeing Surreal in there, it grew on me. And I'm sure other people have some other opinions. I truly believe that Surreal being in there makes all the difference. And I think it's like almost necessary. Because she just ties it all together. And I love the all the demon queens in there. Like my favorite was Paranoia. I had a lot of really fun experiences with Paranoia, which is the one with all the eyeballs in their headdress. And it was just fun. I've had some good experiences like interacting with the demons, and there's another demon that I think was, well, I don't know if they're a demon. One of her minions, like one of the Paranoia minions, was like asking for our eyeballs and things like that, and even like asked for the hat off of one of our people and was like dancing around with like a Bass Pro Shop hat on. And literally one of the coordinators like was gonna come over and yell at us until like Surreal was like, no, it's chill. Like they asked for that. Like they're friends over there. It's fine. So like we had some fun experiences in there. I think that's really one of those zones where to me, similar to, there's been a lot of zones like this, but like I felt this way about like the Chucky zone that was in the same area in 2018. Like if you spend a lot of time in that zone, like it's gonna make all the difference. And in fact, I never even saw the "Let Me Inside Your Fragile Mind" section. I know I've seen videos. I've tried. I stood in there for so long, and I was always with people who didn't want to wait for it, so I never got to see that, unfortunately. And maybe that would have made a difference, but I don't think so, because my number one is an all-timer for me for sure. My number one is Torture Fair. I am a Renaissance Fair girly. I'm a D&D girly. I love all things medieval, and I think it's hilarious that it was like a 2024 Ren Fair and not like set in like the medieval times. I think that's so funny and such a fun detail. It's kind of like saying like Yeti is the comedy house when you tell people like this is a comedy zone, because like it's funny but it's disgusting. Honestly, kind of like Terrifier too. Like it's just like it did a really good job of doing like a good blend between like funny and horrifyingly gross, and it was so cool. Like the sets were really well done. The scare actors, there were so many memorable characters that I will never forget. Pickles, the king and queen, both sets of kings and queens. Obviously Sinister was incredible. There were so many fun characters in that zone. I thought it was amazing. And there's like these nasty gross sound effects between like medieval music, and I just loved it. I thought it was really fun and a good time. So Bella, I know your list is probably really different from mine.
So different. So different. So different. Well, actually, looking back at my list from pre-opening weekend, or no, from after my friends went for team member preview and I got to see scares on videos, the list I redid is exactly the same as what it is for my final ranking, which is crazy because when I preseason, I had Duality of Fear at my number 3 because I did not expect it to, 1, look like that, and 2, I didn't think the chainsaws were going to be in there. And that is a big reason why it is that is actually, yeah, that, well, besides it looking the way it did, and not, yeah, the chainsaws were there, and that's why it's at number 5. Number 4. I wonder what number 4 is. It is Swamp of the Undead. I have said it so many times. I hate zones in this area. I do. It was a little better this year because there were no. Well, I also did not experience the Trick or Treat zone and Twisted Treat. I didn't experience those. I've been from 2021 on, except for Oddfellow. Oddfellow kind of gets a pass. It wasn't like my favorite, but like that was a good one. But like I couldn't tell you what was there the first 2 years I went. Like I really couldn't tell you. But Swamp of the Undead, I don't care. Like, respectfully, I don't. And I'm so glad that there weren't stilts there this year. I'm so glad there weren't stilts in any streets. 1, because I think the only place they would have made sense was Demon Queens. And 2, it's a slip hazard. That ground is always wet because of the fog and how dense the trees are. That just, like, lingers. And I've almost fallen in there. I literally had a stilt walker fall directly next to me in there last year. Like, I think we need to bring back the zone where Killer Clowns was and have a zone there. I know that side of the park will be dead then, but like it's a much bigger area. Anyway, number 3 is Enter the Blumhouse. My initials, the scare zone. I loved having the BH signs. I was like, oh my god, it's me. It's me. It's me. Yeah, I really enjoyed this zone. I liked it when it was dead walking through there, which it was 95% of the time. Because like most years, like it was always so hard to walk through there because it was just like a selfie zone. And even with this being a selfie zone, it wasn't bad up until the last few weeks because Megan had a crowd around her the last few times I went, and like she didn't the beginning of the season. So like, I don't know. I also loved having the grabber back. He needs to be back every year. He's so fun. And he had different outfits.
He did. I think Megan got TikTok famous is what happened. And people saw the cute like videos of her, and I think that people wanted similar interactions.
Yeah. Yeah. It was cute though. I liked it. Number 2 we have Demon Queens. Wow. I'm speed running through these because you've pretty much said everything that I've felt about those. But Demon Queen, I did not know about Let Me Inside Your Fragile Mind until I think it was the second or third night, maybe. And we were just walking through there as Surreal was talking. And we were just like walking through. We noticed all the little minions like looking at her. And then it happened. And then the lights went out and the sound happened. And then they all ran out at all directions. And we were like, what? It was probably one of, if not the coolest things I have ever experienced at Halloween Horror Nights. I'm so sad that you didn't see it, Kelly. I only saw it twice, I think. And I was in that zone a lot. It was so cool. Some would say it was surreal. There was one night I was in there though, and like it was when you guys were there, all the scare actors were just like targeting me and like following me. That was weird. I was like, y'all. It was so fun in there. I really loved that zone. I had it as my number 5 originally on my hype list because I figured the chainsaws were going to be in there because they put the chainsaws in there a lot. I did not expect to love this zone as much as I did. I loved the vibes of it once it was like finally dark outside with like the dark blue and purple and those big set pieces, which I will defend forever. Especially that one in the middle with the spiral. Oh my god, it was gorgeous. I loved it. And everyone can relax. It was just a really pretty zone. It was one I wish I brought my camera and photographed. I didn't bring my camera at all this season. My back thanks me for it, but I'm just a little sad. And then number one, what a shock. It's Torture Fair. I love Torture Fair. This was my number one in all my hype lists, like beginning of the season, throughout the season. I loved the zone. The only thing, I wish they had a pickle priest with the pickle bucket. We needed the pickle priest. Shout out the tulip queen. It was just so fun. And there was one night, oh my god. They're the plague doctors in there. And my friend and I, we're doing a little circle like jig to the medieval music playing, because how could you not going through that zone? And then one of the plague doctors starts joining in with us, and he's like down the road a little bit, and he's dancing with us. And then next thing I know, he runs straight. He gets right here. He gets that close, and I literally almost hit the floor. I went up on the tops of my feet, grabbed my friend. Like, it was insane. My heart was racing so fast. And then I went and did Insidious right after. Like, it was crazy. It was so, like, that moment was so good. And, like, that kind of solidified its number one. I knew it was going to be number one. But that kind of solidified it. And then there was one time I was talking with the king and queen. I was like, how do I volunteer to be one of those people on the stage in the things? And they were like, what? You, okay. And so they did a little, like, not tutorial, but they kind of showed me, like, they did the dunking one first. And I was like, yeah, that's totally fine. And then they did the one with like the Chucky from Matilda. And it sprays you with water, fun fact, if you stand directly in front of it. So I got doused in water. It was so fun.
Did they laugh at you? Because they
Yes.
did that to me and I didn't realize, and they started like pointing and laughing at me. And I was like, that was evil.
Yes. It was so fun. It was such a good time. It did get very busy in there, though, towards the end of the season, which made it less enjoyable. But it was just like, it was so fun. I loved it. I loved it a lot.
So good. One of my favorites.
I stay loving a New York zone.
Real.
Except for Seek and Destroy.
Also real.
Chainsaws.
So, Adam, Bella and I share a brain cell, but I think you might have found your own.
Sorry, that just like hit me as you finished that. It's an inverse brain cell. It's flipped in certain ways. As you'll see, my number 5 is Swamp of the Undead. Swambies was my number 1 hype zone because I was looking around and I'm like, wow, look at all these sets. They're pretty cool. The zone itself did nothing for me. And I asked around, I'm like, there's something that's not clicking with me. There's something I'm missing here. Like, there's a key experience that people are having with this zone that I am obviously not connecting with. So I asked around on Twitter and I'm like, guys, what do you love about Swambies? What do you love about Swamp the Undead? Because y'all are raving about it. Like, the HHN Twitter community loved the zone. And they're like, well, I love the it's not fog, it's like a mist fog. Like, it's a different kind of fog than we've had. It's a mist. It's more of a mist. So it's a different feel. I'm like, yeah, I like that. You know, it made it feel more atmospheric, like you're in a Louisiana swamp. I thought that was cool. But it's not enough to shoot to my number 1. I'm like, what else? What else? And it was like, the sets are cool. I'm like, I agree. Okay. It's like, and the character interactions, and I just never really had a character interaction in this zone. It was like I was paying too much attention to the Swambies to get an interaction or a scare from the Swambies, or I wasn't paying any attention at all, and then I wasn't getting I wasn't taking anything in from that zone. So I think I just had 30 bad runs through this one zone. It's not the worst zone I've ever been through. I think Terra Cruentus was terrible. I think 30 Years, 30 Fears was terrible. I don't care for those zones at all. Sorry. Swambies was better. But there were times where I'm like, I hate the zone. But I did see a Swambi try to get a freestyle Coca-Cola to no avail. That was pretty funny, though. And like some of the characters were nice, like the possum and stuff. And I think the storyline is like some serial killer has dumped all these dead bodies and now they're reanimated, and that kind of ties in with surreal and like paranoia and stuff. Okay, the zone still didn't do anything for me, and I'm bummed that I did not connect with this zone in the very like passionate way people did. It did nothing for me. I'm sorry. My number 4, I'm going to defend her. Duality of Fear, because there are people on the interwebs who are like, this is creative bankruptcy. They did not even try. I'm like, no, 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 no. They did the most with what they were given, I betcha. Because you don't have Avenue of the Stars, because now it's Illumination Avenue. And I have a very strong feeling that the shareholders of the billion-dollar moneymaker of Universal Comcast doesn't want horror by the little yellow guys. And then you got Elphaba showing up with Galinda in the Hello Kitty store. And it's like, well, we don't want anything to cover up the movie promo when we end up doing that. So what are we going to do? Well, we're gonna appeal to the things that appeal to Adam Johnson. When we drop some lore about Halloween Horror Nights, and we had that with the interactions, and I will always stand for the chainsaw drill team. If there's chainsaws, it will never be my least favorite zone because they had so much great energy. I know, Bella, we're diametrically opposed, but we ain't foes. We're friends. But I love the chainsaw drill team. I'm glad that they had a feature. I wish they were more here. I wish we had some of those interactions that we got later on in the event. I understand why we didn't have the representatives like you treat it like a table of content zone, because I think they want to keep the storylines separate and just kind of like you go through the acolytes to get to the stories of the Demon Queen's realm and Physical Pain and Torture Fair and Blumhouse and everything. I'm not saying that it wasn't underdeveloped. It was, but I think they did the most with what they could do, and I'm not going to fault it for what Daddy Comcast isn't letting them do. So my number 3 is Enter the Blumhouse. This was one I was kind of like about, because it's like it's San Francisco, it's usually a crowd in there, and team members I know who went through, team member friends who went through, like, no, this is the Instagram zone, which okay. But I said this in a Universal survey. I'm like, I love it when different worlds interact, and we got some of that interaction with these different iconic characters that made me want to explore those properties. I don't love these Blumhouse movies all that much. Like The Purge is liberal, God's Not Dead. I don't care. I don't like them. But I wanted to watch them because of the characters and how good of a job they did.
You can't.
So I don't care for The Purge. And Freaky's good. Happy Death Day's really good. Megan's fine. Black Phone is fine. But they're not like part of my Hello Kitty. They're not part of my Halloween appetite. But the performance did such a good job. I love seeing them interact with each other, especially when that Purge siren went off. Ooh, yeah. And yeah, they would all like join together. At least the Purgers. I think some of the other characters did too, like the villain characters. And
I missed a lot. I'm blaming law school because I wasn't able to go as much.
yeah. But yeah, it's just fun to see these different zones interact in the same way like Horrors of Halloween. I love seeing those characters, and this is in 2022. I love seeing those characters from those zones interact with each other in that front zone. I like that we still got that energy this year throughout the year, but in the Enter the Blumhouse zone. It was fun to walk through, and once they added Lady Liberty, I thought it really found itself because then you had more characters on the streets and you're getting more scares than pictures. You're still getting the pictures, and everyone did a great job, like mixing. This is even extends to HHN Bar, being scary while also offering that Instagram moment, and like ending that interaction with a jump scare, even though it's just like a stomp of the foot. It's enough. I ended up liking this a lot more by the time the event ended than I thought I was going to. My number 2 and my number 1 are pretty tied, but one does overtake the other in a very real sense. So my number 2 is Torture Fair. I love Torture Fair. I think both this and Demon Queens, which is my number 1, are like among the best zones I've done in a year where I'd say it was really weak in zones compared to last year, which was like the king of zones. I think this is kind of a similar symptom that happened in HHN 30, which had worse zones than this year. But those houses for the most part, were like really great, like strong houses, except for like one or two. Torture Fair, it was fun. I love the music. They're Anthony Smith, who writes the music. He's been working for Universal for like 16 years. I love his score here. When I was waiting for a pal over here for like 20 minutes while he was doing something, I just vibed out to this music. It was incredible. Love Pickles, love the show elements. There's so many show elements. That's what really gave this a lot of life. So I understand why people are like, this is the best zone. Like, I'm not going to argue with you guys about if this is the best zone or not, because it really makes a good case for itself. And to an extent, I think having Sinister in there only adds, as opposed to like completes the zone. Like, I didn't see a lot of Sinister. I didn't attend that show as much as I tried to get my way over to Demon Queens. But seeing them there was great, and seeing all the getting scared by the knight in armor, and there was the what does she have? There's a character who had like a puppet or a horse or like a lollipop or something. I can't remember what it was.
A finger on a stick. That's
What it
Tulip.
was.
That's
Yes.
Tulip. It's finger licking good. That's my queen.
I was just crowd watching or people watching in that zone one time, and she had me dying. Tulip had me dying. Hilarious. But also, like, you had jump scares. It was more effective than something like Sweet Revenge, which I felt was only fun, but never scary. This had its scare moments, like effective scare moments, while also being so much fun and funny. And like what Kelly was saying with like Terrifier, a lot of the stuff in Torture Fair was not far off from what I've seen in those films. Like Pickles burned a woman alive and then salted her. That's straight out of Terrifier 2, my guy. So I had a lot of fun in here. This was a great, great, great zone, and I understand why people thought they were robbed.
One character I forgot to mention as well was like the wizard. I really liked the
Oh,
wizard
yeah.
guy. There were just a lot of fun characters that I really enjoyed in
Mhm.
that zone. And your number one is Zone of the Year as well.
It was, and I had this opinion before it was announced as Zone of the Year. Demon Queens, to me, Demon Queens at first, just in general, feels like a rehash. It could feel like a rehash of a lot of different elements. Going straight off of Oddfellows year, it's very similar to Dark Zodiac in the design and the creature design. I think a lot of the costumes are reused as well. I was reading on the wiki that some of the masks are just reverse Vecna masks from Stranger Things. So like they were given scraps in terms of theme, in terms of costumes. It was like, what if we took Dark Zodiac and replaced the chainsaws with a show element? And that show element feels a lot like Conjure the Dark, which I also love, or even Eddie's Revenge, which had a show element and then a couple of stages. This didn't really have other stages, just that one. And like Graveyard, Deadly Unrest, you had these characters that didn't have any props. So they're really scaring based off their nature. And as we went through, I thought the scare actors in the zone, even without Cyril in here, were so vicious and aggressive in a fun way and in a spooky way. I don't think I ever went through here and didn't get scared, which is why Dark Zodiac was also my favorite last year. But I thought it was even more effective because it didn't have chainsaws. Like, it was just, they're creepy and they're fun to be around. I love the theme of this zone and like those internal fears, because internal fears are what I deal with. Those are my greatest. Next to frogs, it's opening myself up to people. Those are my two fears in life. And so having a zone that was really about that and had a show element that was so about not running from them and not necessarily celebrating them, but embracing them, and like kind of joining that darkness of fear. In this case, so you would be corrupted for surreal and stuff, but I mean, they slay. So this connected with me personally, and also it was scary and fun to walk through. And hearing behind the scenes just how they literally were given scraps and hand-me-downs, and those show elements that the three of us love were basically from the scare actors, according to the scare actors, which is incredible. And you can really tell there's a passion for this zone and how they really made this a standout, which is why they got Zone of the Year, obviously. But I mean, you see everything that was working against Demon Queens, and I think it's my favorite zone of all time right now. Ask me again in a year, we'll see. But right now, I think it did Dark Zodiac better. I think it did Conjure the Dark better. I think it did Eddie's better and Graveyard better. And because it had the strengths of all of those, it was really fighting with Torture Fair since day one. But those are my zone rankings. Woo, go Adam.
We were all very consistent.
Yeah. I think there's like a general vibe of those being around the same rankings for like the community as well, just like all around. Duality of Beer was pretty low for everybody. I think Swambies is really the only things that we disagree with people on, because I really saw a lot of Swampy defenders.
Same.
Blumhouse had its fans. Torch Fair is really fighting, but it's special being in Demon Queens on the last night and kind of in like one of the last hours and seeing all the folks in there and why we connected to it. It's great. It's pretty great.
That was really a good one. Demon Queens was special.
It was. I loved hearing your explanation for it as well. I wish I got to spend more time there. Law school has made it so that I haven't gotten to go a lot, and each time I go, it's really go, go, go. And I loved the houses so much that I really focused on those the most. But yeah, I think those top two zones for all three of us were pretty special this year. So that's a win. Did we want to really quick close out with HHN Bar? Because we didn't get to discuss that on its own.
And Nightmare Fuel.
I thought, oh, and Nightmare Fuel. Never mind, we're not closing out yet, everyone. Sorry. Because it's getting long. Apologies. But y'all know how we are with HHN. So, real quick on HHN Bar, I thought this was a great addition. I did miss the energy of the Peacock Bar. I think this was kind of almost like the new Peacock Bar, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is fine. The Fanta Bar left little to be desired and is not much to talk about other than that they had good drinks that you could get at some other areas as well. So, it was fine. But HHN Bar was really cool. I like that they had characters on platforms there that swapped out, and they were characters from inside the houses, which is really cool because you can't take pictures and videos inside the houses in Orlando. So it's really nice to be able to, they were some of the most loved characters. I think Horror Nights knew what we were going to love immediately, and because they really hit the nail on the head. Some of my favorite characters were out there. The Punk Skeleton, both of them, but especially my guy. I loved both of the characters they had from Sweet Revenge, and I loved the goblin that eats the boogers from people and like licks his fingers. That guy was fun. I had some fun interactions where he was like leaning over me and like trying to get my nose, and I was like, "You cannot have it."
I thought it was similarly. I thought it was fun. Especially since we didn't get like individual merch for these original houses. I'm glad that we got this. I mean, Major Sweets did, but it was ugly. Not ugly. It was purposefully horror themed. I don't want to be mean and call it ugly, but it's not pretty. It doesn't fit the retro vibes of the house or any of the other iconography. I don't know why they use that design personally.
Yeah.
So I get that. But it was really fun to have these interactions, and I would make a point to like go by and rock on and wave hello and tell them each how much I love their houses, even though none of those actors are in those houses. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It wasn't necessarily the vibe that Peacock Bar was with David Pumpkins and Purge Girl #2, but it was good. I hope they do something like that more, especially if Epic causes. I didn't think it. Well, it didn't feel like Budget Cuts the musical, but obviously it was Budget Cuts the musical this year. So if we have Budget Cuts the sequel musical, I hope we bring this back or something like this back to celebrate those original houses, and throw some extra merch for the original content houses too while we're at it. I would wear a Rotting Stone shirt is all I'm saying, or the Torture Fair $20 shirt. Come on, Universal, if you're listening. HHN Bar.
I thought it was cute. I didn't really go much. Like I maybe went through it like one or two times. But it was cute. I loved the Booger Goblin as well. I loved her.
To close it out for this episode, because you gotta wait for the next one to hear about the houses, what did we think of Nightmare Fuel? Adam, what'd you think?
I grew on the show, or the show grew on this show grew on me. I was not a mass on this show. The show was a mass on me. I enjoyed it. It took me a while to fully appreciate it because I disagree with the direction design of the show, of having so many layers that you have to see it multiple times. I understand the necessity of that if we're only going to do one show. So you're directing a lot of people to the same space multiple times. So you're getting them out of the houses so they can catch all the details and the storyline and the dancing and all that jazz. The storyline very much grew on me as it went along. It was different, but it was still in that same world. It didn't feel like the same world, which I think is key. But it definitely was for the fans of Nightmare Fuel. It very much was still in that nightmare realm adjacent world with a lot, almost the same cast I think as last year, which was very special. This is not. I think year three is still my favorite. I think I go year three, year four, year one, year two. I like the music, and that's enough. I love the individual scenes. I think the Smells Like Teen Spirit sequence. It's been like a month since I saw the show last because it got busy. So like I'm trying to remember specific moments, but the twirly do scene, where she's hanging by her hair braid or something. I think that was worth the mission alone. Not to Horror Nights, but to the show, like going to the show, I think seeing that stunt was really great. And then having that energy of the dancers in the back. I think the heels moment with the guys in the heels to Lethal Woman by Dove Cameron, I think. What a moment. Love that. Such skilled dancing because I watched this for the plot, but also for the technical mastery of the program. And boy, this had both.
Yeah, that's how I feel about like I love the show. I think this one is tied for last year with me. I really loved last year's show. But and I loved the set this year. I loved how they lit it. I wish I shot it. I thought the music choice was really good. Loved the heels number. Loved the heels number. Also the Melanie Martinez song, those skirts that the girls were wearing. Oh my god. I want those skirts. I want them so bad. I thought the Fuel Girls were amazing as per usual. I really liked they had a good balance this year of dance and stunt. But I wish there was a little bit more dance. But that's just me. But I would not be sad if Nightmare Fuel does not return next year. I don't know what else there is to build off of story-wise, since this was like kind of a departure from the story we've seen the last 3 years. So I wouldn't be shocked or really that upset if it doesn't come back. I think it's time for, as much I love Nightmare Fuel. I'm a Nightmare Fuel stan. But I think it's time for something new, and I think it's time for a second, maybe even a third show. We need it. Bad. Second stage show and a Lagoon show. Maybe even open up horror makeup. Like, we need something to eat the crowds up. Bad.
Give us another Jack show, please. Actually, you know what my pitch is? First of all, I think we should have at least 2 shows. My pitch is that we do some sort of director and usher show. I don't know what they're gonna do. If they're just gonna talk about movies.
Kiss.
Ooh, yes. I agree. So Nightmare Fuel, Nightmare Fuel is not my favorite. Part of that does have to do with the fact that crowds are not fantastic for me, and I try to avoid them, and you can't avoid them in there. You are going to be sandwiched between people. So I just have my earplugs and I try to suffer through the uncomfortable feelings that I have shoved in there like a sardine. So that is part of it. The benches are not comfortable either. You're like, yay, I get to sit down, and then you're so uncomfortable the whole time. You're like, I wish I was standing. But I like it. I couldn't even tell you which ones are my favorite. I'll be honest, they all blend together for me a little bit. But I always think they're really good. You know, they always start with a crowd pleaser. The Black Parade, great. That's fun. I love how into it everybody is. I personally primarily watch for the bisexual agenda, but so you know the plot. But the plot this year, the actual plot was actually really fun. It was different in a way that I didn't expect, and I liked that. The carousel number and the Dove Cameron heels number were my 2 favorites, I would say. And that hair, I think I was like looking at you, Adam, like, is that real? How are they doing that? That hurts my scalp. So 10 out of 10. They do a great job, and I'm not even opposed to seeing the same like cast, but I think the Nightmare Fuel theming is it's we've probably had enough of it. We could probably do something different. What should they do? I don't know, but I think there should be some sort of either dance or stunt show or both, and then I think there should be some sort of comedy or icon or both type of show, if that makes sense. And I think they should use the Blue Man stage to do it, although I don't know if it's probably too close to Grinchmas. I don't know if they can do that, but it'd be cool.
Could be fun. Could be fun.
Yeah, so that was all things HHN besides houses, because y'all know we got some opinions on the houses. Some might say one of the best years for houses ever, perhaps, which makes it, some might say, not all might say apparently, but I might say, and I think that makes it particularly hard to rank them as well. So we'll see. I've got a ranking, and I'm going to give it to you. All three of us are, but not right now. You gotta wait.
The next episode.
But we love you, and thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.